Hello, my friends, and welcome to Scrum in the Real World. Have you just passed your PSM1 test? You're a brand new Scrum Master, and you've just gotten a job, and you say to yourself, okay, what the hell do I do now? How do I make sure I do a good job as a Scrum Master? What exactly is my job as a Scrum Master? Well, the Scrum Guide lays it all out, although not necessarily very clearly. And by the way, my name is Fred Fowler. I'm a Professional Scrum Master Level 3 certified by Scrum.org. I've been doing Scrum for more than 20 years, and I understand a lot about the Scrum framework. I've taught more than 300 people how to be Scrum Masters. And most of the time, beginning Scrum Masters are kind of perplexed, they're dazed and confused because they've read through the Scrum Guide, they understand the 3 roles, those 3 artifacts, the 5 events, but they don't know how to put it all together in a way that makes sense. They can go through the motions, but that doesn't necessarily get the job done. And they want to make sure they understand what they need to do in order to be successful. Now, unfortunately, the Scrum Guide itself is a little bit unclear about all this. The Scrum Guide describes very clearly what should be done. It really doesn't say at all why you need to do these things, what the purpose of these different things are. And to be a good Scrum Master, you need to understand some of the purposes so that you can make sure that you are satisfying those purposes when you're working on these different things. So the Scrum Guide clearly lays out the Scrum Master's responsibility if you know where to look to find it. And the key to the entire framework lies in just 2 small sentences that are they're kind of throwaway lines in some ways. They aren't given much detail, but basically at one point in the Scrum Guide it says that a Scrum team needs to be self-organizing. And another part of the Scrum Guide it says that a team needs to be cross-functional. And you can look up in a dictionary, what does this mean? Self-organizing means that teams need to make their own decisions about how to organize their work. And cross-functionality means that the teams need to be able to create the program, create where the product is completely by themselves with no help from the outside. So these are 2 things that are stated as necessary, but nowhere does it say why you need to have these 2 characteristics. And a Scrum Master needs to understand these 2, the why part of these 2 things, so that they can then work towards those goals. Now, why do you need cross-functionality? Why do you need self-organization? Well, it's pretty straightforward. You see, you look at the alternative. Let's take cross-functionality. The cross-functionality means that the team can create the product all by itself with no help from the outside. It doesn't need to depend on anybody other than its own members to get the job done. Now, what would be the situation if they did have to depend on somebody else from the outside? Well, they would have a built-in excuse for non-delivery. They could say, well, we did our part, but the other people, they had to do their part, but they didn't do their part, so it's not our fault that things didn't get done, it's their fault. And the other team can do the same thing right back. Well, we didn't do this part because the first team didn't give us what we needed in time, and it wasn't time left. So basically there's a lot of finger pointing going on. The need for a team to be cross-functional basically takes away all the finger pointing. You can't point at anybody but yourself if something doesn't get done, because you had within the team all the capability that was necessary to get the job done. That's very important. Now, self-organization is the same idea. You see, self-organization means that nobody tells the team how to do what they are supposed to do. The team makes all of its own decisions about how to achieve the goal that they're working towards. nobody tells them what to do. And again, the reason for that is so that the team doesn't have any excuses for not getting things done. If you make your own decisions about how to do something, well, let me put it this way. If I was to tell you to do something, then you wouldn't have any responsibility for whether that was the right thing to do or not. If it wasn't the right thing to do, that wouldn't be your fault. That'd be my fault because I told you to do it. Likewise, if I told you to do something and you can't do it, you couldn't do it, it's not your fault either because I should have known better than to give you something you couldn't do. So by making sure the team makes its own decisions, once again, it takes away excuses. The whole idea is that if I say I'm going to do something, then that's something that people can hold me to. And it'll focus me on getting things done because I said so. It's my word at stake. So cross-functionality and self-organization are key to the whole Scrum framework because they put responsibility into the hands of the people who should be equipped to deal with that responsibility. You don't want non-technical people to make technical decisions. So in Scrum, you have the technical decisions made by the technical people, the developers. As an aside, you don't want business decisions to be made by somebody who's not a business person. So in Scrum, you have just business decisions made by a product owner who is a business person. And how does a Scrum Master fit into all this? Well, the Scrum Master has to teach and coach all these people how to work together as a team, how to accept responsibility, how to organize themselves, how to be cross-functional, and basically how to make commitments and then be willing to live up to them. So that's the job of the Scrum Master. And it's an ongoing job. But how do you get people to learn how to make decisions? Well, you ask them to make decisions. During the sprint planning meeting, the product owner presents the product backlog, all the different needs that can be filled in order to create something of value. The Scrum Master then leads the developers through deciding which of those product backlog items they're going to do. And a developer might say, oh, just tell me what you want me to do, and I'll do my best. But that's a cop-out because, again, if I tell them what to do, then it's not the right thing to do. That's my fault. It's not their fault. So the Scrum Master has to say, no, I'm not going to tell you. You tell me. You tell me what you can do. You tell me, team, what you can do in this sprint. And then the team could say, okay, well, the product backlog has got like 20 items and we can't do them all. But we can do number 1, 2, 3, and maybe we can do number 5. That's what we have the capacity to do. And then the product owner steps in and says, well, but 1, 2, 3, that's fine, but number 5 doesn't really stand alone. It really needs number 4 to make any sense. So can you do number 4 instead of number 5? And the developers say, well, no, we don't have enough capability to do number 4. And then the product says, well, but number 5 doesn't make any sense. Can you do anything else? And then the developers say, well, we could do number 6. We can do number 1, 2, 3, and 6. And that would be within our capability to do. And then the product owner can say, okay, number 1, 2, 3, and 6, those would all be valuable. There would be enough value there that it would make sense to pay you guys to do that work. So I'm okay with that. The scope for this sprint will be items number 1, 2, 3, and 6 in the product backlog. And basically the Scrum Master needs to make sure that everybody is agreed to that. They kind of verbally shake hands on it. And then the Scrum Master has to go around the table, each developer in turn, and say, okay, Joe, will you make sure that we succeed with these product backlog items? Joe, will you take personal responsibility to make sure that the team successfully delivers these things? And Joe either says yes or no, and if Joe says yes, you go on to the next one. Okay, Martha, will you make sure that we as a team succeed in delivering these items? And Martha might say, well, I'm not sure about number 3. 1, 2, and 6 are fine, but I'm not comfortable saying we can do number 3. In which case the Scrum Master says, okay, so if you're not comfortable, that means we don't necessarily have the right mix of product backlog items. Let's pick the ones where we will be willing to say, yes, I will make sure that we as a team succeed. And you might adjust the scope. You might do 1, 2, and 6 and leave number 3 off to the side, if the product owner is okay with that. So anyway, you go around the room and you make sure that every individual has said that they will make sure that the team is successful. You've now just pinned them all down, you've gotten them all on the hook to work together as a team. And they made the decision of what they're going to work on together. They made the decision as a whole. But they've all agreed to support that decision individually. So, that's how the sprint planning works, and that's how you get people to make decisions. Now, what about the other events? Well, the most important other event is the daily scrum, which a lot of people don't really understand or appreciate very much. You see, the daily scrum is an event where everybody stops what they're doing for a very brief period of time. They get together and they discuss whether they are on track to meet the commitment that they made. You see, the purpose of the daily scrum isn't to recite what I did, what I plan to do, anything like that. The purpose of the daily scrum is to make sure the entire team knows whether it is on track or not. And if it's not on track, it gives them a chance to do something about it. You know, Annie over there could say, well, I'm kind of stuck on this. I'm spinning my wheels. I'm not getting anywhere. Okay, and Frank, you can go and help Annie. And Frank says, no, I can't do that. But then maybe Peter says, well, I can do that. I can help Annie. Okay, you have inspected the progress toward the goal, inspected the transparency that the daily scrum provides, and you've adapted. You've said, okay, Peter's going to go and help Annie get over her bump. So those are the basic tools of getting teams of people to manage themselves. It's all about being transparent. It's all about making decisions. It's about inspecting transparency and adapting, and making sure that everybody participates in this decision so nobody can say, well, don't blame me, it wasn't my fault, I just went along. No, everybody has to be part of it. And that makes sure everybody's really motivated to achieve success. Now, there's a lot more to Scrum than just this, but that's a good place for Scrum Masters to start. And it's also a place where most beginning Scrum Masters run on hit the rocks and run aground, because they understand that the whole purpose of Scrum is to get people to organize themselves, manage themselves. And most of the tools within Scrum are just simple tools that people can use to manage themselves, organize themselves. And the role of the Scrum Master is to help them learn how to do it, help them make sure they do it, and to help them to get back on track when things go wrong. So that's the end of that story, and thanks very much for your time. If you have any comments, please leave them below. I love hearing from comments. And if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more videos when they come, then please hit subscribe. And thanks very much for your time. Once again, my name is Fred Fowler. I'm a Professional Scrum Master Level 3. And I want to thank you for joining me on this explanation of Scrum in the real world. Best regards.